couch, dogs, me, guitar lessons.
Hey there, Lickin' Riffers, how are you doing? I'm Asaf Levavi and I welcome you to Finally Understanding Chords, the full 10 lesson course on chord theory for free right here on Lickin' Riff. In the following 10 lessons, we're gonna unlock the guitar neck in everything to do with harmony, everything to do with chords on the guitar. I'm gonna show you to the best of my abilities from the basic position, minor and major chords. Even if you think you know them, it's best that you watch the first lesson because I explained the structure of the chords and we're gonna build on that in the following lessons. So the first lesson is very, very important. It's not just what the chords are, it's why they look the way they do. And we're going to build on that and look at all the embellishments, the sevens, the minor sevens, the major sevens, the nines, the suspended chords, the flat 5, the sharp 5, 13s, 11s, diminished sevens, augmented, everything. And even more complex chords with more than one embellishment. So from basic chords to jazz chords and everything in between, we're going to touch everything in the following 10 lessons. But I want to dedicate this introduction to tell you the most important thing that we're going to touch again and again in order to unlock the chord theory, which is the order of the embellishments in the scale. Usually when music theory and chord theory is taught, you're talking about the order of the notes in the scale. But I personally haven't seen many teachers talk about the embellishments in the scale, and that causes all the confusion. You see numbers, you see different names, different embellishment types, and you have no idea what they mean unless someone shows you a shape. But and here's the important thing, I'm not going to use tabs. Well, sometimes I'm going to use tabs when absolutely necessary, but I'm not going to use diagrams. Diagrams make you lazy. I want you to understand why the chord looks the way it does on your own. I want you to understand the concept of chord building on the guitar, and just giving you a shape, telling you that this is a flat 9 jazz chord will give you nothing, because you won't understand what notes are inside that chord. And that's what I want to do with this series. I want you to understand the chords deeply. And sorry, and you see I'm very enthusiastic, so it's also physical for me. So for example, what is this? Okay, it can be 3 different chords, and I will show you why. It's not enough to know shapes. That's the first important thing that I want you to know. Now let's talk about the embellishment order of the scale. Okay, the 12 notes of the the musical method. In Eastern music you have more than 12 notes because you have chord notes, but in Western music you have 12 notes, the chromatic scale, right? The whites and the blacks on the keyboard. 12 notes. So those 12 notes are a sequence of notes, and you all know their names, and and some of you know their position in the scale and how they relate to each other. But I'm going to talk about the embellishment order. And the title slide that we're going to see most of the time on the screen is this one. We have the first note, the root note of the scale itself that we're playing, the root note of the chord that we're playing. It's the 1. The 1 of the chord is the bass note of the chord, not always, but most of the time. So the 1 is also the 8, because if we have C, D, E, F, G, A, B, we have C again, the 8th note, so 1 is 8. That's very important because then you know when we're going to break down the structure, you'll know where the 8 is in the chord, and then you'll know where to put the 9, where to put the 7, okay, where the major 7 comes in. It makes everything a lot easier. So 1 is 9. 2 is the 9, because if 1 is 8, then 2 is 9. And that's why you have add 9, but sus 2. They're 2 different chords, and we're going to discuss that. But it's important to understand that between 1 and 2, you have the flat 9. Okay, because if 2 is 9, then between 1 and 2, you have an extra note there, the flat 9. The third note in the chromatic scale is the minor third. The minor third, if you have a minor chord, you have the minor third. We're going to discuss that. The next note, of course, is the major third. So we have two threes. We have minor third and major third. And that sometimes creates confusion for beginners with different chord shapes on different string sets. So it's important to know that you have two different types of third. And the next one is the fourth. The fourth note is also the 11th note. Okay, 4 is 11. And next you have the flat 5. The flat 5 is used mainly in diminished chords and half diminished chords. And then you have, of course, the 5. Now, those of you who know chord theory will, probably wonder why I'm not mentioning the structure of the chord by now. We've discussed the 1, the 3, and the 5, but we'll save it for the first lesson in the series. This is not the first lesson. This is still the introduction. I'm introducing the embellishment table. And after 5, we have sharp 5. Remember that, sharp 5. Okay, now let's move on to the next one. The next one is 6. The next one is the 6th note, and the 6th is the 13th. Okay, if 2 is 9, 4 is 11, then 6 is 13. Now let's go back to sharp 5. Sharp 5 is also the flat 13. Okay, and for some chords you will call it sharp 5. For some chords you will call it flat 13. Okay, depending on the type of chord you're playing, how complex it is. Okay. Bear with me. We have two more notes. The minor 7, okay, the 7th of the minor scale, and let's not keep her out of the loop, of the petting loop. We have the 7th of the minor scale, so that's the minor 7, and we have the major 7, the 7th of the major scale. And that also creates a lot of confusion, and I'm going to dissipate the confusion when we have the 7th lesson, which is the second lesson in the series, because the 7s are the most important embellishment of all. They're the basis for all the more complex chords. So I'll see you in the first lesson. You have fun, and if you're confused, just refer to this lesson, to this table below. Just refer to this table. Just refer to this introduction video. Come back. Take your time and you'll do fine. Now go to the first lesson about chord structure, basic chord structure. I wish you a lot of fun, and I will see you in the next lesson. Bye for now. Thanks for watching.